"What the hell do you think you're doing in my bed?" Edward Hawthorne's voice shattered the stillness like a hammer against glass. He stood in the doorway of the master bedroom, a silhouette of rage and disbelief. Rainwater dripped from his coat, but his focus was singular. The woman in his bed. Maya Williams. She shot up from the mattress, heart pounding, eyes wide with shock, not guilt. On either side of her, the twin boys, Ethan and Eli, lay curled in the deep, peaceful sleep she had finally coaxed them into. A teddy bear rose and fell with Ethan's gentle breathing. "I can explain," Maya said quietly, her hands raised in a calming gesture. They were scared. Eli was crying, and Ethan had a nosebleed. "I stayed because they begged me not to leave." But Edward didn't let her finish. His palm came down fast, a sharp crack echoing off the walls. Maya staggered back, her hand flying to her cheek. She didn't cry out, didn't speak. Her eyes just locked on his, stunned more by the blow than the fury. "I don't care what excuse you have," Edward growled. "You're fired. Get out of my house now." She stood there for a moment, hand pressed to her burning cheek. Her voice, when it came, was a low whisper. "I stayed because they were finally calm, finally safe. I said, get out." Maya's gaze softened as she looked at the boys, their faces finally free of the shadows that had haunted them. She leaned over, kissed each of their heads, and then, without another word, she walked past Edward with her shoes in hand. Downstairs, the housekeeper, Mrs. Keller, saw the red mark on Maya's cheek. Her eyes widened in shock. Outside, the rain had slowed to a drizzle. Maya pulled her coat tighter and walked toward the gate, a profound ache in her chest. Back in the master bedroom, Edward was still breathing hard, his jaw tight. He looked at the bed again, and something registered. The quiet. Ethan's brow was smooth, no cold sweat. Eli's thumb was in his mouth. His small hand relaxed on the blanket. They weren't drugged or exhausted from crying. They were just asleep. His throat tightened. 14 nannies, therapists, and doctors had failed. Hours of screaming, fits, and anxiety. And the soft-spoken stranger had done what none of them could. And he had struck her. He sat on the edge of the bed, shame bleeding into his chest. On the nightstand, a folded note lay waiting. He opened it. "If you can't stay for them, at least don't push away the ones who will." He read it twice, then a third time. His reflection in the mirror showed a man hardened by grief, drowning in control, choking on silence. Mrs. Keller stood in the hall, watching. "Sir," she said softly. She didn't touch a thing. She only brought them in here when the little one had a nosebleed. She stayed because they asked. They didn't ask for anyone else. Just her. Edward looked up, his eyes dark with something more than anger, something closer to regret. Outside, the gate creaked closed. For the first time in months, the Hawthorne house was silent, not with grief or rage, but with something else. The fragile piece Maya had left behind. The house felt wrong, hollow and unfinished. A question left unanswered. Edward Hawthorne sat in his study, a glass of scotch untouched. The note rested on his desk like a judgment. He had read it 7 times. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. His hand still stung faintly. He hadn't meant to do it. It wasn't who he was. And yet it had happened. A moment of fury born from grief and 1,000 quiet failures. He had hit a woman. And not just any woman. He went upstairs. The boys' room smelled of lavender and warm cotton. A small wooden stool stood against the wall with Maya's sketchbook on top. He picked it up. Inside were simple, untrained drawings, but full of heart. 2 boys holding hands under a tree. A figure with arms stretched out like wings, sitting between them. The caption beneath read, "The one who stays." He exhaled slowly. In the nursery, Eli stirred but didn't wake. No nightmares. No tears. He closed the door softly and went downstairs. Mrs. Keller was folding napkins. "She's gone," he said. "I know," she replied. "I made a mistake," he said, almost to himself. Mrs. Keller raised an eyebrow, but her voice stayed gentle. "She was in your bed, or she was in your room, because the boys wouldn't sleep anywhere else. You weren't here. I heard them beg for her. She calmed them. I thought I know what you thought, she said, but you weren't thinking. A heavy silence stretched between them. I need to find her, he said. Start with the return address on her letter, Mrs. Keller replied. Georgia. He nodded, already moving. Across town, Maya sat alone on a bench outside the train station. Her cheeks still throbbed. She hadn't cried when he yelled or when he hit her, but now, with a lukewarm cup of coffee in her hands, tears finally welled. She wiped them away quickly, a habit learned from years of not wanting to be seen as weak. She had survived worse, losing her son, being abandoned by a foster family. But those boys, they had reached a part of her she hadn't touched in years. The train pulled in with a sigh of brakes and metal. Her ticket was for Savannah, but her heart was still in that White House in Greenwich, where two boys were finally learning to sleep. She sat back down. The next morning, Edward stood in his son's room with a tray of breakfast. He hadn't done this since their mother died. Eli sat up groggy. Where's Miss Maya? Is she gone? Ethan asked, his voice cracking. Edward nodded. She had to leave. Why? Eli's voice was a whisper. She didn't do anything bad, Ethan insisted. She helped us. We were good. Edward knelt beside the bed. It wasn't your fault. It was mine. Did you yell at her? Eli asked. Edward didn't lie. Yes. Did you hit her? Ethan's voice was low. Edward's throat tightened. He nodded once. The boys turned away from him. He stayed there on the carpet for a long time. I'll fix it, he said finally. I'll bring her back. They didn't respond, but they heard him. That day, Maya boarded a local bus, not the train. She needed space, perspective. She taught a writing class at a shelter for runaway girls, telling them stories about choosing to stay when others walk away, about knowing their worth. When she left, there was a note stuck in her bike spokes. They asked for you, both of them. She looked at the sky, now streaked with orange, and for the first time, she smiled. Edward Hawthorne didn't knock. He walked into the old community center as dusk fell. The sound of his polished shoes on linoleum was out of place, but he didn't flinch. He scanned the room, spotting Maya at the far end, crouching by a whiteboard, surrounded by laughing teenage girls. Her voice was lighter than he remembered. She looked up and saw him. The laughter died. She stood. He walked forward, his hands empty. I need to talk to you, he said. One of the girls stepped in front of Maya. It's okay, Maya said, and the girl relaxed. Edward glanced at the whiteboard. Your voice has value, even when it shakes, was written across the top. He followed Maya outside to the bench where she had sat just days before. I was wrong, he said immediately. I judged you. I reacted without listening, and I put my hands on you. That's something I will regret for the rest of my life. Maya said nothing. I saw you in my space, in my bed, he continued, and I let fear speak louder than truth. That wasn't just unfair. It was cruel. You didn't believe me, she said, her voice tired, even after your sons trusted me. I know, he said. She looked away. You don't get to walk back into my life because you finally realized I was telling the truth. I'm not here to clear my name, he said. I'm here because they asked for you, not a nanny. You. Maya's eyes softened. How are they? Too quiet, he admitted. That's not peace. That's a wound closing over without healing. He looked down. I want to fix this. You can't fix it, she said. But you can start by acknowledging that what your sons need isn't control, it's connection. He exhaled. Come back. She paused. If I say yes, will I still be staff? He hesitated. No, you'll have whatever title you want. Advisor, mentor, partner. Partner? She raised an eyebrow. In their care, he clarified, though the word lingered, heavier than he intended. Fine, she said, but I have conditions. First, no cameras in the children's rooms. They teach kids that privacy isn't theirs to keep. He nodded. Second, they eat dinner at the table with you. No phones, no business. He nodded again. Third, we rewrite the house rules together. With They're 5, he said. They're people, she replied. He cracked a small smile. Anything else? Yes. The next time you raise your hand to someone who doesn't deserve it, anyone, I'm gone, and I won't come back. His expression fell. Understood. I'll see them in the morning. He stood. Do you want to ride? She shook her head. I'll take the bus. I still have to finish up here. He nodded. Maya, thank you. Don't thank me yet, she said. We're starting over, Mr. Hawthorne. And this time, I'm not walking on eggshells. She turned and walked back into the building. That night, he cleared the dinner table himself. He sat between his sons with a bowl of spaghetti and awkwardly tried to tell a bedtime story. They laughed at him, not unkindly. Upstairs, Ethan whispered to Eli, She's coming back. How do you know? Eli asked. Because she said goodbye, Ethan replied, pulling the blanket over his head. Nobody else ever does. The next morning, Maya returned. The sky was a soft wash of peach and slate blue. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. Harold, the butler, greeted her with reverence. Miss Williams, welcome back. She heard footsteps upstairs, small and quick. She's here, a voice shouted. Eli rounded the staircase first, arms flung open. Ethan followed, clutching a sketchbook. Maya knelt just in time to catch Eli. Well, hello, she said, laughing. We made a welcome back sign, Ethan mumbled, thrusting the sketchbook at her. On the first page was a drawing of her, the two boys, and a house with a big heart over it. The caption read, You stayed even when you left. Maya's throat tightened. That's beautiful, honey. Thank you. Edward stood at the base of the stairs, in a gray sweater and jeans, a far cry from his usual suits. Breakfast is ready, he said. Good, she replied, standing, because we have rules to rewrite. In the kitchen, the four of them gathered around the table. Maya pulled out a notebook. We're going to talk about what it means to live here together. What's fair, what's safe, and what makes this house feel like a home. Ethan raised a hand. Can we have music during bath time? Reasonable. Maya nodded. Eli added, and no broccoli unless it's disguised. Edward coughed a laugh. I may need clarification on that one. Maya smiled. We'll keep a list, but this isn't just about vegetables. It's about boundaries. For all of us. He nodded, serious now. Understood. Over the next hour, the boys scribbled rules with crayons. Always knock. No yelling near bedtime. Hugs must be asked for. Pancakes on Sundays. One story each before lights out. Maya wrote her own. Listen first. Apologize when you're wrong. No cameras. No exceptions. Edward added a line in neat handwriting. Make space for forgiveness, even when it's hard. When they were done, Maya taped the paper to the refrigerator with two smiling magnets shaped like suns. There, she said, the new rules of the house. I hope you enjoyed the first part. I've tried to capture the emotional tension and character development from the original while adding some descriptive flair. I'll get the second part ready for you right away.